Oh, boys and girls, I have made it home just in time for the latest Football Manager announcement. No caravan videos from me today. I'm back in my lovely old office, still holding the Starbucks that I bought in the car on the journey home. And let's get straight in and have a little look at what is in today's feature reveal then, which is about introducing intermediaries and offloading players. As with the previous one of these videos, I'm basically going to read through it. I've not read it yet, so this is my immediate reaction. I'll read through it. I'll offer up my thoughts as we go through, and then we can have a big old chat about those thoughts down in the comments section when we're done. And of course, if this feature is the one that's convincing you to pre-order your copy of FM24, don't forget, using discount code LOLLUJO at Fanatical, you can do that while saving some money and supporting the channel. It's cheaper than it is on Steam and Epic. It still gives you access to the early access beta that you get if you buy directly through Steam, and gets it at the extra discounted price of just £35 and 5p. The link is at the top of the description below. Like I say, it saves you money, it supports the channel as well. It's win-win. It's code LOLLUJO at Fanatical, link at the top of the description. So here we go then, teacher reading voice engaged. Whether you're signing world-class wonder kids, looking to offload players that no longer make the grade, or anything in between, squad building is integral to every Football Manager career. They gave us the squad planner last year to really hammer that point home. We've heard your feedback in recent years that selling players can prove a frustrating experience. Goodness me, yes it can. As it often is, no, don't give me an as it often is. Tell me you've fixed it. As it often is for many clubs and players during every transfer window. With that in mind, our team considered what extra tools we could have in FM24 for players and AI managers to help with this aspect of the game. Just offering the same amount of money to the player as you would to an AI player would be a huge thing in this. That change on its own would be enough for me, I think. I wonder if that's what they discuss down below. As with so many areas of Football Manager, we leaned on our industry access to better understand how clubs look to solve the problem of offloading players in the professional game, and then applied that insight to our game world. Very fancy. So we have a heading, using agents for better transfer market insight. And obviously agents have been something that have become more and more a feature of the game in recent years. We use them quite heavily when bringing players into the clubs now, but as of yet, we don't really use agents to get rid of players. There's that whole convince the player to look for another club, and the agent does something that we don't really know about in the background, but it looks like they're now actually going to do something in the foreground. So in an attempt to give you better clarity of how much you could get for your players when trying to sell them, we've added a new Ask Agent About Market Interest option to the transfer drop-down of player profiles. That is brilliant. Now, if we can do that secretly without the player knowing, that would be even more brilliant. Selecting this takes you through to a quick chat with the player's agent. As manager, you have 3 response options that each carry a different tone. Desperate demonstrates a real urgency to moving the player on, while keen indicates you'd be interested in selling but only at the right price. Curious is there if you're just exploring your options. So it looks like there is no way to do this without the player knowing exactly what we're up to. Picking one of the options will trigger your interest in selling the player. Yikes. So straight in there, want to let him go. So don't click on this if you don't want to sell that player, boys and girls. Don't click on it if you're just... Don't click curious if you're just curious, because it sets the wheels in motion. If they're happy to move, the agent will let you know the player's current market value and the club's most interested in their services. That's awesome. Love that straight away. However, if your intention to sell catches the player by surprise and they don't want to leave, the agent will refuse to engage in attempts to sell them, and you may need to go over their head. Wowzers. Okay, that's cool. Be careful though, because as with everything in Football Manager, your actions will have consequences. I hate consequences. So there we go. We've got desperate, keen, and curious. So that's what that screen will look like. Very similar to the existing agent interaction screens. After your initial response, you'll have the choice of asking the agent to proceed and begin sourcing a move, or you can reconsider your options if you're not happy with the potential price or the clubs with rumoured interest. If your player's happy to leave, but there are no takers, the agent will explain why. This already feels a lot more like how real transfers work. I know I talk about it in every one of these videos, but all we see when transfers are going through now is Fabrizio Romano tweeting out that players have agreed terms with a new club, and then it's just down to the clubs to agree a fee. And it's such a backwards way of doing it compared to what we're used to in Football Manager. And it looks like it might not be taking us all the way there. We'll find out later in the article, I'm sure, but it's at least a step in that direction, because the first step towards selling a player now is we talk to the agent and tell the agent to go and find a club. Now, theoretically, that's happening without the club contacting us. So this looks like it's bringing it more in line with what actually happens. Following your conversation with the agent, the price tag on the player's profile will update to reflect the market value discussed. This new value initially displays in a different colour, hopefully not red or green for us colourblind people, and will remain active on the player's profile until it expires. This period of time varies depending on where you are in the season, whether you're in or out of the transfer window during transfer deadline day, and so on. It's important to note that while this new functionality will give you better clarity on potential fees for the players you want to sell, it doesn't guarantee a sale every time. So there's an example of good old Jimmy Rhodes. We love Jimmy Rhodes, who plays for FMFC, and there you go, that's confirmation that he's had his value of 1.3 million suggested by his agent and is now effectively up for sale, which, I mean, he's got 23 England caps, but he's only 2.5 stars of ability. FMFC, clearly top level team. We've also made some upgrades to the Ask Agent About Availability quick chat, first introduced in FM24, to help with trying to buy a player. This is what we were talking about before, about how we use it quite a lot now when we're buying players, or some of us do anyway. I know some of you completely ignore that feature. I use it for every single player I sign. Now, minimum fee release clauses and expected contract lengths are included in the player's bullet point list of demands. Were they not in there before? Expected contract length maybe wasn't, but minimum fee release clauses, that must be talking about the minimum fee release clauses they would expect to have, because I'm sure at the moment it tells us if there's a minimum fee release clause where they are current. Has that been worded weirdly? Or am I making something up that I think is currently in the game that maybe isn't? You can also contest some of these items, either working with the agent to seek a more favourable release clause. Yeah, okay, so we're talking about release clauses they're going to want. Or asking for all demands to remain up for discussion until you enter formal negotiations. Fair enough. New heading, evolve your squad with new intermediaries. So is the agent not the intermediary? There's a lot of people involved in football these days. If you want to sell one of your players but their agent isn't cooperating or the offers don't meet your expectations, you can now hire an intermediary to help facilitate a sale. So apparently this is not an agent. Let's find out what an intermediary is. Intermediaries are brokers recruited by your director of football or relevant staff member that can help generate new interest in a player and assist with securing a move for a percentage of the final transfer fee. I guess this is a thing in modern football. I don't know how I feel about a percentage of my final transfer fee disappearing, though. Again, I know it's what goes on in real life, but I want to reinvest that money in players. No intermediaries for Kev. The interest they're able to source is determined by a few factors, including their reach and ability as an agent. Their scope is a measure of the geographical location they operate in. For example, an intermediary with continental European reach would bring in interest from appropriate clubs in the region. Their ability will help determine how much interest and what sale value they can find for your player. So these aren't people who are going to be permanent employees of the club, I don't think. They're going to be on a case-by-case basis taking a cut. They are agents, effectively, just agents working for the club club rather than agents working for the player. The commission is capped at a maximum of 10% of the overall transfer fee, so seems negotiable, just as it is in the professional game. The cost is shown throughout the process, right from the initial inbox item indicating that a bid has been received, right through to the transfer completion news item. So I guess 10% if it's a big fee, not necessarily a disaster, especially if it's a player you can't get rid of any other way. Assessing your intermediary options is key. While the commission they charge is based on their reach and ability, someone better known but lesser skilled may well end up charging more than a higher skilled but less well-connected person. So we're choosing the intermediaries, are we? I thought it was someone hired by the director of football. It feels like we're getting to decide on the intermediary that we use, which is preferable, I guess. Another factor is the length of time they expect to spend gathering offers. Higher ability intermediaries will find offers more quickly, but understandably, their cost is higher. During the busiest periods of the season, such as deadline day, this time is reduced and could mean that some lower ability intermediaries may be entirely unable to complete their work. And presumably, in that case, they don't get paid. Right? Right? Yeah. To use an intermediary, head to the transfer drop-down on your player's profile and click the hire an intermediary to sell player button, which is just there. And then presumably we get a choice of intermediaries we could potentially hire. Although that's not... Oh yeah, there you go. We see that on the next screen down. Let's not jump ahead. We'll get there in a minute. If the player's agent didn't want you to help... Hold on, let's try that again. If the player's agent didn't want to help me sell the player earlier in the process, so tying back into what we were saying before. So if the player's agent didn't want to help me due to their player not wanting to leave, going over their head to an intermediary can risk the player becoming unhappy and disrupting the dressing room. So this feels like it almost replaces putting them on the transfer list. Is that even still on there anymore? I imagine it's still under transfer status. Maybe we don't put players on the transfer list anymore. We'll see. Conversely, though, it can also bring you sale options that the player's own agent wouldn't have even considered as being possible, as the intermediary may have better connections. Interesting. So we can hire an intermediary whether or not the agent wants to help. But presumably, if you've got an agent and an intermediary both working on it, the cut is going to be even bigger, you would think. If you choose to hire an intermediary and they're able to find interest in one of your players, you'll receive a quick chat pop-up from a relevant staff member displaying which intermediaries are offering their services, a preview of what they expect to provide and for how much. At this stage, the intermediary will give you enough information to make an informed decision without revealing too much. I hate modern football. The rascals. Once you've reviewed what each intermediary is offering, you can choose which suits you best and ask them to return with specific offers. Once the associated period of time has elapsed, your selected intermediary will return with the promised bids that you're free to accept, negotiate, or reject as you see fit. So we've got this screen here that gives us a list of different agents, the offers, how much they're going to charge, and the range, the sort of price range they expect the offer to be. And then I guess you choose which one or ones. Can we accept multiple and ask them to go forward and get us offers? So you can see that these intermediary fees ranging from 2% to 9%, and Mr. 9%, although he's worldwide, is, or maybe Miss Mindy's a girl's name, right? 1.5 million to 2.1 million range, whereas Stefano, who's only charging 2%, expects something in the range of 1.4 to 1.7 million. So me looking at that initially, I'm thinking, well, I'll go with Stefano, but presumably Mindy is likely to get more offers. But if they're in the same sort of range anyway, frankly, who cares? One offer in the right range is enough, right? Although maybe the player won't go. This is adding some confusion to, I mean, I wanted a transfer overhaul. This combined with what we had announced earlier in the week, this is very much a transfer overhaul. If none of the clubs the intermediaries identify as interested bid for your player, their reasoning will be explained. So we'll find out after they've promised this. If they don't deliver anything, they'll explain why, and it'll probably be my fault, I'm sure. The intermediary will also let you know if they're unable to source any interest at all. That would be very harsh on the player. You can try again later if this is the case, and will be prompted to do so after an appropriate amount of time. If you receive no offers but are still desperate to sell the player, there is an option to offer out an ultimatum. If you receive no offers, let's try that again. If you receive no offers but are still desperate to sell the player, there is an option to offer out an ultimatum to all intermediaries instead of selecting just one. So at this stage, we have to select one. If we don't get any offers, we can then offer some more. It looks like this is completely removed, by the way. They just offer players out. We can't just offer players out willy-nilly anymore, which might remove the whole laddering up, getting an auction going sales technique that we've all used and abused for many years. Where did we just get to? Something about ultimatums. Here we go. This ultimatum serves as a first come, first served system where all intermediaries will try to source a bid for your player, and the first offer is the only offer. Okay. However, this does mean you'll be unable to select a specific intermediary and will be unaware of the associated percentage fee up front. If after a month you've still received no offers for your player, the ultimatum will end and you really are stuck with your player at that point. Should you cancel or reject a move sourced by an intermediary, both that intermediary and the associated club will be unlikely to make further offers for this player for a short period, so you'll need to think carefully. And this is what it looks like when the offers come in via the intermediaries. So we can see in this instance, Birmingham and Swansea have both come in. Both of them have a 2% intermediary fee because it's the same intermediary, presumably. Intermediaries can also work for other clubs, meaning that they'll come to you directly if someone else is looking to offload a player. In these instances, you'll receive a scout report that includes agent feedback outlining a few expected financial details where to pursue the deal. Who is doing the scout report? I would like my scouts to do that, please. And I mean, presumably that's what's happening. Maybe we don't find out about the intermediary until we've done this. I'm confused. I need to play this. I need to see it in action. And if I wasn't already confused enough, new heading, offer out players via TransferRoom. As initially revealed in our most recent development update, which was like a week ago, FM24 will see the first inclusion of our new partner, TransferRoom. In FM24, the digital service replaces the previous offer to clubs. There you go. So offer to clubs is gone. So it replaces the previous offer to clubs option in-game as a simple way to reach out to other clubs with players that you want to sell. This is not an instant option, as the clubs won't all be online looking at the system every minute of every day. I don't understand not being online every minute of every day. Explain that. Someone explain that to me in the comments section. But your staff will collate the offers together for you and inform you of any interest in good time. I'll be the judge of what good time is. Clubs are more likely to be using it at different points in the season and transfer window, so responses may come in more quickly at some times than others. Something to note is that using the intermediary ultimatum functionality outlined above doesn't preclude you from offering a player out via TransferRoom. So you can do one or the other or both. We're going to be going down some hardcore routes trying to get players out of our football clubs. This is just the start of TransferRoom's integration into Football Manager, with much more to come in the future. So it's effectively, I don't want to upset anybody at Sports Interactive. At the moment, it looks like a reskinned offer to clubs, and it's now called offer via TransferRoom, and you won't get all the offers at the same time necessarily, but otherwise it's basically the same as what offer to clubs used to do, but reskinned as TransferRoom with more to come in future iterations of the game. So a step in the right direction. I really like the intermediary stuff for sure, and this has a promising future, and it's all moves towards more realistic transfer stuff, which is something we've been screaming out for years. So final heading, no, not final heading, bringing your transfer tools together. Upgrading the existing agent's functionality and introducing intermediaries has led us to make a few changes to the transfer status screen. Clubs considering a move for one of your players will now be classed as having active interest or rumoured interest rather than major or minor. Again, just a rewording, but rewording that makes sense. You'll also now see a contextual reason for a club's interest. So, for example, if your player was not a club's first choice target in a given position, that would qualify as rumoured interest. Fair enough. And that's what it looks like now. So, yeah, rumoured interest, Crawley, for a loan, reason not first choice for this position. Fair enough. Agent feedback is still included on this screen in the top right. There it is. If you've not already spoken to the player's agent about a potential sale, there'll be a discuss generating market interest button available on that screen. Alternative options allow you to hire an intermediary or offer via TransferRoom, the two things we talked about before. Should those options have been exhausted without success due to the player not wanting to leave, the button will instead read persuade to leave, which used to be in the inbox message and I guess has now moved here. In the bottom right, you'll see tabs indicating the player's transfer and loan status, so we can still do transfer list and loan list. They're on here somewhere. I don't see them on that screen, but they definitely are here somewhere. If you click on Director of Football Instructions header, you'll be taken to either the unwanted list or development list, depending on whether you're looking to reviewing the transfer or loan tab, respectively. That's a sentence that my brain doesn't want to compute at the moment, but I believe it makes perfect sense. I just can't translate currently. The panel in the top right adapts with sale and transfer options depending on whether you're viewing the profile of a player you've loaned out, someone you've loaned in, or an opposition player, so contextual stuff, all well and good. You'll notice too that these screens look a little different for MLS players. I will challenge you there, Football Manager. I strongly believe I will not notice they look a little different for MLS players because I can't imagine a scenario where I'm looking at MLS players. We might have a look if Messi's any good. See if we can bring him into Tamworth at the start of non-league to legend. As they now have more contextual information like the club they're contracted to, which club holds their rights, and who initially signed them to the league. Okie dokie. Now it's the final header. Empowering you to shape your squad your way. I mean, that's the Burger King slogan, isn't it? Have it your way. Football Manager, the football king, the Burger King of football games. What? Where's that Starbucks? I've had a long drive. The introduction of intermediaries and where is it? I've had a very long drive. Try again. The introduction of intermediaries and enhanced functionality for pre-existing agents elevate the experience of selling players in FM24, giving you more real-world powered tools than ever to work on your next rebuild project. Oh, they're even getting the YouTube buzzwords in there. Good work, Football Manager. Head over to the features roadmap to discuss. Yeah, so features roadmap is not here. There it is. Explore the features roadmap. So that's it for this week's announcements. We know we've got announcements coming next week. We're going to find out about individual player targets and interaction logic. So yet more transfer stuff. The transfer system is being absolutely turned on its head for FM24, and I am all for it. Also, the long-awaited set pieces refresh and coaches debut. Cannot wait for that one. Plus, the truer football motion, match authenticity and positional play, which is going to really please the match engine nerds. Is that going to be 3 videos next week? Goodness me, Football Manager, thank you for the content. It's very much appreciated. And then a week after, we start getting more gameplay deep dives and quality of life upgrades. And the beta in that box there, it's coming. It's going there for sure. Surely it is. Well, boys and girls, I don't know about you. I am very excited for the changes to the transfer system for FM24. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below and make sure you subscribe to the channel because I will aim to get those videos out just as soon as I can, as soon as we get the rest of the feature announcements. Disclaimer, like I said in the video earlier this week, I am at Disneyland Paris next week. So if they drop in the middle of the day, you're probably not going to hear my thoughts until later on in the evening when I'm back at my hotel. I'm probably not going to do a reaction video sat on Mickey Mouse's lap. Unless this video gets 5,000 likes. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you again very soon. And make sure you're back tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning, we've finally got the highlights from my world record attempt as well. I've been working editor Chris to the bone. Toodle pip, everybody.